You're right, he said. But I've met people like him. Wired to machines. Screaming without a mouth. You think saving him means dragging him out of here? You think he's coming back whole? I didn't answer. That night, I watched the core chamber from a catwalk above. I could almost see him. Just behind the glass, just beyond reach. He was strapped into something like a chair, his head encased in a metal crown, wires like vines pulsing with data. His chest rose and fell, but faintly, like a wind-up toy winding down. I remembered the time he got lost in the ravine behind our cabin. I found him hours later, knees scraped, shivering under a pine tree. He didn't cry. He just said, "I knew you'd find me." Now he was lost again. And this time, I wasn't sure I could bring him back. At dawn, Merrick handed me the detonator. "You plant the charge. Tala and I will cover your exit." I held it like a bomb even before it was armed. My legs felt like lead as I descended into the bowels of the dome, past conduits, down elevators without guards. The place was automated, pulsing, watching. The core room was a cathedral of suffering. Cylindrical pods lined the walls, each holding someone. Not all alive. Some still twitched. Others didn't. And there he was. Luca. His eyes flicked open as I approached. He saw me. Recognition flickered, dim, then grew. A shudder. A single tear slipped from the corner of his eye. He tried to speak, but his mouth was locked by the harness. Only his eyes moved. I reached out, touched the glass. "I'm here." He blinked once. Twice. Then he looked down at the detonator in my hand. His expression changed. He shook his head, barely, weakly. He didn't want to be saved. He wanted this to end. I pressed my forehead to the glass. "I'm sorry." I set the charge. And the countdown began. The moment I pressed the arming switch, the silence changed. It wasn't just the hum of the core anymore, it was as if the entire structure realized what I had done. The lights deepened to crimson. The temperature dropped. A low-frequency vibration began under my feet, resonating through the steel like a warning growl. I took one last look at Luca. His chest rose, paused, and fell again. Slow. Steady. Conscious. His eyes met mine, and in them I saw no fear. Only gratitude. He knew I understood. I whispered, "You don't have to carry this anymore." Then I ran. The tunnels closed behind me. The failsafe doors slammed one after another, forcing me down unfamiliar corridors. The dome was reconfiguring, its artificial mind scrambling to isolate the breach. Alarms wailed in the walls, not as mechanical noise, but voices. Human ones, screaming on loop. Echoes recorded from the minds wired into the machine. It was a prison haunted by the very people who powered it. Merrick's voice buzzed in my ear. "We see you." Cameras caught movement, half the domes locking down. "You've got 3 minutes. I need a route. Follow the red markers." "Everything's red, Merrick. I mean the painted ones, smartass." "Left vent, 3 floors down." I moved like blood through a wound. Every second felt like it stretched sideways. The heat surged around me. Somewhere in the distance, I heard a low thunder that wasn't natural. The iron sky was waking up. I reached the vent shaft Merrick mentioned and dropped 3 stories. My shoulder popped. I hit the grating hard and rolled, scraping skin off my palms. Didn't matter. I kept going. Tala met me at the junction, holding a small submachine gun and bleeding from her temple. They activated sentries. "You've got less than 2. Where's Merrick?" She didn't answer. She just handed me the key code to the blast door and shoved me forward. Behind us, the floor shook. Somewhere deep beneath our feet, the iron sky was aligning. I punched in the code and we burst out into the glacial air. The world had turned from white to orange. The satellite was descending from orbit, visible now through the clouds, a spear of light growing brighter every second. The flare core grid embedded in the glacier lit up like a circuit board. The targeting system was live. Luca's mind was still connected. Which meant he was guiding it. I stared up at the satellite. Its aim was shifting, searching. Then, suddenly, the targeting beam locked. On home. Not a base. Not a military target. The Boreas Village Valley. The flare core source itself. They wanted to destroy it all. To collapse the mines. To render the region useless. It wasn't strategy, it was spite. Luca had shown me. Had sent me the drone. He wanted me to see the truth before it burned. Merrick's voice crackled back in. You're out. You did it. The charge'll drop the whole dome in 20 seconds. Get to cover. But I didn't move. I stared back toward the dome, still visible behind us, the vents glowing like open wounds. I couldn't walk away. He was still inside. Still powering it. And I knew, if the charge alone didn't stop the launch, I'd have to. There was one more failsafe, the manual override. Tala saw the look on my face. No, she said. I have to. You go back in, you won't come out. He's still in there. I'm not leaving him to burn in orbit. She grabbed my arm. And what happens when you don't come out? I looked her in the eyes. Then bury 2 Kresnik brothers, not one. I turned and sprinted back toward the dome as the countdown ticked into its final seconds. The blast hit when I was halfway there. The world folded inward, fire, sound, metal shrieking as it tore apart. I was lifted off my feet and thrown against a drift. The back of my skull slammed into ice and for a moment everything vanished into white noise. When I opened my eyes, the dome was ruptured, half the structure sheared off. Smoke billowed into the sky. The iron sky's light was dimming, flickering. Not dead. Not yet. And through the haze, I saw the override tower, still intact. I crawled. My ribs were cracked. My vision pulsed. I don't remember how long it took, only that I bled on every step. The override panel stood at the top of a twisted staircase. As I reached it, I looked back. The satellite was almost directly above us now. I could see the flare lens beginning to pulse. Preparing to fire. I opened the panel. Behind it, a switch. Old world. Analog. Deadman's clutch. One flip, and the iron sky would implode. The surge would feed back into the satellite. A chain reaction. Total shutdown. But it would fry every processor in the system. Every brain wired in. Including Luca. I hesitated. Just for a breath. A sound crackled through the wind. Elias. It came from the speakers in the panel. A voice, faint, broken, synthetic. But I knew it. Luca. Don't. Wait. Luca, I said, hands shaking. I'm here. I see you, he whispered. I'm not afraid. I closed my eyes. Felt the weight of the switch beneath my fingers. My brother's voice on the other side of a circuit. I'm sorry. Don't be, he said. You. Came. Then silence. I flipped the switch. The world went white. I don't remember the next day. Or the one after that. I woke up in a tent. Tala was there. Her face was bruised. One of her arms was in a sling. She told me Merrick didn't make it. Head. Been hit by a collapsing support beam just after the blast. Gone before he hit the ground. The Iron Sky satellite crashed into the Southern Ocean, miles off the coast. The feedback loop destroyed half the Hesterian grid. Both governments went dark. Communications severed. Borders froze. And the war paused. Not ended. Just stunned. They listed me as missing in action, declared Kia. Which suited me fine. Now I live in a coastal village that doesn't ask questions. I mend nets. Chart tides. I keep my real name tucked between the pages of an old field journal. Sometimes, I dream of Luca. Not the Luca trapped in glass and wires. The one who ran barefoot down forest paths. The one who sang off-key while boiling potatoes. The one who asked where the ground ended and the sky began. I know the answer now. It ends where you choose to stop climbing. And sometimes, the climb is just letting go. I go to the shoreline in the early mornings, when the sun hasn't fully breached the sea. I toss stones into the water. One for each lie I used to believe. One for each ghost I couldn't save. And one, always, for him. The sea never keeps them. But that's okay. I don't want to forget.